Hello, my name is Steve Barton. This is my son Michael.
Hi.
My other son behind the camera, which you can't see, is Adam.
Hello.
He's the owner of Solid Rock Machine Shop Incorporated, a company that he started a few years back. It's a company that we're looking at making some inventions, being able to get patents on them and market them. And so we got a couple projects that are in the work that we can't reveal, and one that we're ready to patent it right now. But we just thought that we'd make this video kind of showing you the company. It's just in a little building out by the house. It's less than 500 square feet. People are amazed that see it when they walk in, how much stuff we have in here. And we had a lot of help. As far as we're not finished with the building yet, as you'll see in the video. We got a lot of things to do yet, but we kind of run out of funds for that. We got to wait till we get some more money coming in. But we did pour an 8-inch floor in here, concrete. We had our good friends Bruce and Jerry DeBoer. They came out. They've both had experience in concrete work. I have none, and they did an awesome job. After this was poured and putting a level on this floor, just about anywhere, it's the most level floor I've ever seen. So we just want to thank them. They did an awesome job, and it was great help. A skill area that I don't possess, they do. They did a great job. We had another good friend that we work with, Gary Walters. He's the one that helped us to pick up the equipment, to get it out to the building, get it into the building, get it all set up. And Gary is another great guy, helped us out a lot. One of the first pieces of equipment that Gary helped us with was this Acer mill. We bought it brand new. It was quite the job getting it in there. We finally did. Thing went pretty smooth. But this is an awesome mill. It's got an inverted drive over here where you got the frequency control button here that controls the RPMs rather than like the Bridgeport with the step bullies and stuff. And I've used numerous mills. So I've got about 42 years experience. I use numerous milling machines. This is one of the best I've ever used. The one thing and the big complaint that many people have is how high it is. You get used to that after a while, but it does give you a lot of Z travel. This is a boxway machine. It's like I say, the first piece of equipment we've had and we purchased. We have more time than money. We use this machine to make other pieces of equipment, other tools and stuff. And we had some equipment to start with. We have in the corner over here, we have a drill press that I had from a previous company that I owned numerous years ago. It's a cheap one, but it serves its purpose. It does well. If we come over here, we have this lathe that's a little dark in this corner. I'm going to hang some lights, but this lathe, again, our good friend Gary Walters, he's letting us borrow it for now. We have in the corner over here, we have just a cheap jet cutoff saw, and you can turn that into a bandsaw as well. And it's all we really need right now. The thing, we modified it a little bit and made it a lot better than what it was, and it works out pretty good. We have in this space right here, we have a more jig grinder. We got a little work that we have to do on that, but the price was a good price on it. We're hoping to be able to use that sometime in the future as well. We have the gauge pins from 60 thousandths up to a 1/2 inch that we have over here. If we come over here, you can see we got some Suburban angle plates. They're 8-inch by 8-inch, about 1 inch thick. I have a new friend of mine, Daryl Smith. He's a machine technician, probably one of the best I've seen. The guy is awesome. He can fix just about anything. The company that I work at right now, he's called in there. He works on their CNC equipment, and again, one of the sharpest guys I know. He took some scraping classes with Richard King. He loves to scrape, and he had these 2 angle plates. And he's got these things, if you want to get a close-up on them, man, he's got these angle plates scraped in, and they are super accurate. he's got a 40-point contact on there, so they'll wear for a long time. He told me if I felt I needed to grind it, to go ahead and grind them, but I tell you what, he's got these things probably less than 2/10 on the accuracy. Most of the places there were within a tenth. So he did an awesome job. I know he told me he put a lot of labor on it. We really appreciate his help, and we're real thankful that we were able to trade him some stuff and get these angle plates. Only modification I'll probably do on that is squaring these ends up and the tops, getting those squared up and putting some tap toes on so we can put rails on. And with one of them I'll modify some bolt holes so that I can bolt it to the table of the milling machine. If we come over here, as I said, we have more time than we have money, so one of the first things that we built is this 20-inch disc sander. It was one of the first projects. There's a couple reasons that we built it. One, I could build it a whole lot cheaper than we can buy one. Two, it was good training for my sons. One of my sons that's not here, as well as my daughters, a couple daughters that are interested in this. It was good training, good stuff to get them started on, getting them used to some of the equipment, some of the tools, some of the techniques that we use. Now, we turned on this disc sander, we turned all this round stuff. This is a 20-inch disc sander. We do not have a 20-inch turn lathe. We took this disc sander and we actually built all the parts over here on that Acer mill. One of the first things that we did. And we will show you some of the videos that we got of that in just a moment. In today's world, a lot of this stuff they would run, if they have a 20-inch swing lathe, they'd probably run those parts over there. If they don't have a lathe and they got CNC milled, they'd set up and do it. Well, we don't have either one, so we had to improvise. But like I said, I got about 42 years experience, and when I started this trade, I was fortunate that I was trained probably by one of the best machinists that I've ever met, and that's my dad, Frank Barton. He's probably one of the most skilled tool makers I ever met. Any of these manual equipment, he can pretty much make them stand up and dance. He's really good. But I learned a lot from him. I had a good head start. It's one of the things that I'm hoping to pass on to my boys and daughters, is a skill set that they can use as well. So back in the day when I started, again going back about 42 years, really you didn't have CNC. You had manual equipment. In fact, in my days you didn't have digitals. I can remember when the first calculators were invented that we were using. We thought that was great, having a little red LED calculator that just had your basic adding, subtraction, multiplication, division, and what a big help that was. Before, we used to do all that on pencil and paper and freehand, and so that gives you an idea how far I go back. But when you come across projects like this and you didn't have the equipment, back in those days you had to improvise. You had to use the equipment that you had to think outside the box, and you had to come up with some unique ways of doing things. So again, this is one of the first pieces of equipment that we made. It works real good. We made the table, the stand, and welded that together. And I'll just show you, we'll come over here by the computer and we'll show you some of the techniques that we used on this. Now what you're about to see, I want you to not try this unless you know what you're doing, because it is dangerous and you can get hurt real bad if you don't know what you're doing. And there's some things that I'm doing that I'm not explaining in this short video clip or anything. We'll probably touch some of these things, but go ahead and watch this video and we'll see how this was done. One other thing that I need to let you know is it takes extreme hand-eye coordination to be able to turn that by hand and make it as round as we got it. Again, it's very dangerous, because if that lets go or catches, it can swing that big 20-inch plate, and you got some of them sharp edges on there, you can get hurt in a bad way. So if you don't know what you're doing, please don't try it. So there you go. We go all the way around, we cut these ears off. I'd start with a 3/8 end mill. I didn't want to start with a big end mill, bigger than that, because if it would catch, the end mill would be strong enough, it would just rip things on my hand. It could with the 3/8 tube, but it's more apt to break. But we went down a certain depth with the 3/8, and then we dropped down to a 5/16 to finish the rest, so that we're not dragging on all that surface. We did that to keep our surface contact as little as we can, so that we had less pressure. So anyhow, like I was mentioning earlier, it took a lot of hand-eye coordination to get this straight. One of the first questions people usually ask me, how did I do that? Well, actually, it didn't take that much hand-eye coordination. Let me show, so I'm gonna figure out how to get out of here. Let me show you how we've done this. Here's some pictures that we have. Oops. Hit the wrong button. You can see the nice finish that we have going all the way around. You can see how round that turned out. You can see here close up on the finish. But here's how we done it. You can see I got a 3/8 dowel hole in this plate. It doesn't go all the way through. And you can see this little unit right here. It's got a 3/8 hole, and we got 2/4 20 taps, and we tapped with set screws pushing down through the table, and it pushes up against the keyway and it sets it in place. Michael, you know where that's at? Okay, we'll probably find it a little bit. Here's a close-up of it. Again, the 2/4 20 tap, and you just screw them down, and then you can flip that plate over, put on that dowel, and now you've got a pivot point on there, and so now you can get a perfect circle. What you do is you sweep the dowel pin with an indicator, get centered up on that, set your digital to 0, excuse me, and then you move your table over. If you want a 20-inch diameter, you move your table over 10 inches plus half of your diameter of your end mill, and then you can get whatever swing you want. Let's see what we got here. We made this hub, again, no lathe, but we used techniques. I took the round piece, it's a piece of co-roll, put the hole pattern in here. It's got a 5/8 shaft, so I got me a 5/8 carbide boring bar that I'm using over here. I took that 3/8 hole that I had started, drilled and reamed that out, got it up to 5/8. Did the same thing with, actually bored the hole on this hub, slide them together, and then that way it lines them up real good, and then I can tighten things down and get them lined up real good that way. And that way it would be nice and balanced. And then we would slide this onto the motor and tighten down from there. This is what we did with some testing a little bit before we got started. Before we had a table, we just bolted it down and went there. We have some, when we made the table currently sitting on, we use that. We can put our bench grinder on there as well. Here's a piece, part of the guarding in the back. We had to do things different. What I did is, when I turn this, we use that same technique with that dowel hole in the center, and we turn the outside to about 20 1/4 inch or whatever, I can't remember off the top of my head, whatever it was that we needed for the guarding. And so we got the outside done first. And then what we did, well, we're going to cut this center circle out. Well, if you got to use your 1/4 inch or your 3/8 dowel pin for a pivot point, well, you know that if you get this cut out, it's not going to work very good, because you're going to lose your center point on there. So what we did then, we just took this clamp hold down set, and we clamped clamps here, in here. So now we got 4 points, and now we can spin it, and we're locking in with these 4 points. And as we spin this by hand, now we can capture the diameter on the outside, spin, cut that center section out. And then you can see my other boy Jeremiah, he's over there. Michael's on this side. They're holding this unit up, and that's kind of how we built the guard. And then I would just take some 1/8 inch, I think it was by about 1 or 1 1/4, and I would tack weld it on side, and then I would just bend it and weld it as I come all the way around, and we ended up getting our guard. And so that was one of the first tools that we made. It works very well. We use it quite often. If we come over here now, we can look at a surface grinder. This is an Acer surface grinder. This machine, it may be a cheaper machine, but I can tell you what, it is super accurate. We've used this for some very high precision stuff. In another video we'll show you just how accurate that you can get with this. We just bought a cheap coolant tank with the motor. It's kind of loud, but it works. And in the past, when I've had machine shops out here, we've always had a problem because we get hard water, I'd mix coolant, and it would sour in a month. And it would then, you'd turn it on, and this is even being used, you'd turn it on and you'd have to leave the shop because it would stink so bad. You'd get a bacteria buildup. I started doing some research on the internet, trying to figure out what I can do. And one of the articles I read, they said use distilled water. Well, that worked out pretty good because I actually got a water distiller in the house that'll do about 12 gallons in a 24-hour period. And we use that for all of our drinking and cooking, and now for mixing our coolant. The other thing I knew, I needed to keep it aerated, and I didn't want to run a big pump, or I didn't want to run my air compressor all the time like they do in some shops with air going on there. And so I have a good friend, Jonathan Greenman, that I work with in my full-time job. He suggested getting a fish tank aerator, and yeah, that worked great. So we got this fish tank aerator, pop in there, and you can probably hear that bubbling. You can probably hear that bubbling. But I just want to tell you how great the distilled water in that aerator works. This coolant has been in here now for about 9 months. It's been setting for over 4 months at one period of time without using it. It's the same coolant. I actually had to add more water because a lot of it evaporated out. But that smells just like the day we put it in. And so I'm really impressed. I think the combination, using the distilled water, using the aerator, they both worked out good. If you come over here, we'll show you just the last piece of equipment, and it was kind of an expensive one, and I can't remember what the horsepower on this, but it's an American rotary phase converter. We only have single phase power out here. We needed 3-phase. Now a lot of people, they'll run these pieces of equipment, they'll run them with single phase motors. I'll tell you what, if you ever try that and you can go to 3-phase, you won't believe the difference that 3-phase will make. This unit costs about $2,000, but it's worth every penny. We bought it, and we bought a big unit because when we got started, we had an opportunity at the time, at least we thought we did, of getting some CNC equipment in here. So we needed to have a rotary that had a clean power supply, was big enough to run some of that equipment. Well, that deal fell through, that didn't work, so we're running all of our equipment 3-phase power with it right now. It is working out great, and it gives us room in the future to add more equipment. We'll probably stop right here with this video. We'll probably start working on some more here shortly, so just keep an eye out. You can hit the subscribe button on there. I think there's another button on there. I'm not real familiar with YouTube that will give you automatic updates with new videos if you like them. You subscribe. We plan on showing you some techniques that we use that may be a little bit different than what you'll see in the industry. Shortcuts, excuse me, shortcuts, some neat things. We'll make another video here real shortly. Jonathan Greenman, he suggested that I show some of the tooling that we built and some of the unique ideas of some of the tools that, like V-blocks and different things that we've done. And so the next video we'll probably cover a lot of that area and show you some of the neat tools we have. So thanks for watching, and hit the subscribe button. Thank you.